जरा आंख में भर लो पानी, जो शहीद हुई है उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी.
26th July 2020 marks the 21st anniversary of Kargil Vijay Diwas. On this day, as an Indian citizen, it is imperative to salute and commemorate our Kargil heroes for their dreadful sacrifices, exemplary valor, and commendable courage for having given us a victory in Kargil War. The war was not an easy task as our opponents had an advantage of hanging about in the high altitude of Kargil at an elevated position on the mountain peaks. Our brave heroes from Army, Air Force, and Navy fought the war courageously and tactically to achieve this victory. They were successful in evicting the infiltrators, that is, the Pakistan Army, and recapturing all our high posts back. The Kargil War, or Operation Vijay, lasted for more than 60 days. In this war, we lost more than 500 soldiers. Here in this video, you're gonna refresh all the facts about Kargil War, that is, why, when, where, and how this war happened. Firstly, we need to know the importance of Siachen Glacier, which is believed to be the single largest source of fresh water on the Indian subcontinent. It is the second longest glacier outside the polar region, and towards the east of which lies the Karakoram range of Himalayas, and towards the west lies the Saltaro Ridge line. The sustainability of life in this desolate region is very difficult as the weather conditions in this region are very hard to adapt, and the temperature generally ranges from -18 to -60 degrees centigrade. Then we would have a question like, why do we have to fight for such a part which has intolerable weather conditions? Because nothing can be done there for a livelihood. But listen, this place has got a very important role to do with a country's security. This place could actually prove to be an entry point in Kashmir for both the Chinese and Pakistani troops. The origin, in fact, lies in the agreements that were worked out in Karachi during the year 1949 and Shimla during the year 1972, according to which there was not a clear demarcation in this region, which later led to certain tensions between the two countries, that is, India and Pakistan. In 1984, the Indian Armed Forces gained control of the entire Siachen Glacier, including all the major passes, namely Siala, Bilafontla, Gyeongla, and Indrakol by Operation Meghdoot. According to certain reports, it was believed that the intention of Pakistanis were to cross the Saltaro Heights and to proceed for the Karakoram Pass on the Jammu and Kashmir border with Tibet. According to the plan of Pakistani troops, if they succeeded in the invasion of Kargil Heights, they can compel Indian forces to withdraw from Siachen glaciers in return of the possession of Kargil. Consequently, Indian government would be forced for a negotiation on a settlement of the broader Kashmir dispute. They also believed that these circumstances shall internationalize the Kashmir issue and they would obtain a speedy result for the same. But all their intentions were broken to pieces by our Indian armed forces, who fought it extremely valiantly to achieve the victory in Kargil War. The Kargil War, otherwise known as Operation Vijay, lasted for about 60 days between May and July 1999 in Kargil district of Jammu and Kashmir. It all started with the infiltration of Pakistani troops into our Indian territory and located themselves in major spots. This is how they got the advantage of being in the topmost position. It is believed that then Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was unaware of this conflict organized by then Pakistan Army Chief General Pervez Musharraf. It was believed that 3 shepherds from a small village called Garkon headed towards Banju Heights in search of fodder for their animals. They had moved about 5 kilometers above Jabbar Heights when they happened to notice a few men dressed in Pathan suits constructing makeshift bunkers. On their way back to village, one of the shepherds informed and alerted officials of Punjab Regiment. Immediately following this incident, India dispatched 2 patrols on May 5th to Aldor and Kabaroro. Here, they were able to notice 7 to 8 infiltrators. More and more of infiltrators were detected. At this time, the Indian soldiers assumed these infiltrators to be jihadis and believed that they would evict them within few days. But things did not stop there. Our Indian army happened to discover more infiltrators elsewhere along the LOC, and by mid of May, they were able to ascertain that Pakistani troops had held its position at an alarming rate, and their plan of attack was indeed on a much bigger scale, which covered the entire Kargil area from Musko Valley to Chorbatla. Meanwhile, many of our Indian soldiers during this course of attack were caught by Pakistanis and were tortured to death. Our Indian soldiers fought it courageously and bravely till the end of their life. कहते हैं ना, सरफरोशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में है, देखना है जोर कितना बाजुए कातिल में है. As the Pakistanis had already positioned themselves at higher altitudes, it was favorable for them to fire down at our advancing Indian soldiers. But what do they know about how courageous our soldiers are and how committed they are when the question comes to safeguarding the sovereignty of our country? उन्हें क्या पता हमारे वीर जवानों के जोश के बारे में, that we would give them a befitting reply in a manner which they never expected. At this point, I would just like to share a few lines from a Hindi poet Gopal Prasad's poem. ये आंधियां पहाड़ क्या, ये मुश्किलों की बाढ़ क्या, दहाड़ शेरे हिंद आसमान को हिलाए जा. The joint efforts of all the three major defense sectors of our country, that is Army, Air Force and Navy, made us achieve this victory in Kargil War. Each one of them did their part to their very best to win this war. Our Indian Army fought the battle with full josh. To strengthen their combat and to render support to them, Air Force joined the operation on 26th of May under the so-called Operation Safed Sagar. At this point of time, Indian Air Force had to fight it hard to keep the enemies at bay, as they had to give a tough time to the enemies within a short notice of action. Indian Air Force pilots were well expertised for low-level strikes in the plains, but they had to reorient themselves in order to strike at higher altitudes of between 15,000 to 18,000 feet and more. They used MiG-21, MiG-27 and Mirage 2000 fighters that fired rockets and missiles at the fortified enemy positions only from their own side of the LOC. It was difficult to conduct airstrikes towards the LOC because according to our government specification, the LOC should not be crossed. Moreover, the turning radius of aircraft is around 6 to 8 kilometers, which meant that the fighters cannot take a turn at LOC and had to fly parallel to it, which consequently made it difficult for the identification of the target spots at this place. In the beginning, our aircrafts were shot down, that is, our aircrafts MiG-21 and MiG-27 were shot down on 27th of May, and Flight Lieutenant K. Nachiketa was taken as prisoner of war. The very next day, our Mi-17 was also shot down by the Pakistanis. On 1st of June, Pakistan had shelled NH-1. It was on 5th of June that Indian Army revealed the documents recovered from Pakistani soldiers indicating Pakistan's involvement. Throughout the war, Indian Air Force used MiG-21, MiG-23, MiG-25, MiG-27, MiG-29 Fulcrum armed with BVR missiles, that is, Beyond Visual Range missiles, Jaguars and Mirage 2000 heads armed with day and night laser-guided bombs and Mi-17 helicopters. Indian Air Force also succeeded in disrupting and severing the supply lines of enemy to such an extent that the enemy troops were finding it difficult to even evacuate their wounded people. This kind of situation was now becoming favorable to our Indian Army for giving the enemies a tough fight with Bofors and howitzers. On 9th of June, Indian Army recaptures two key positions in Batalik sector, and on 13th June, we secured Tololink and Dras. On 15th of June, then US President Bill Clinton had forced Pakistan Prime Minister to pull out from Kargil. Meanwhile, Navy was also playing an important role in Kargil war by launching Operation Talwar. In fact, they were at full alert from May 20 onwards, even before the Army and Air Force launched a retaliatory offensive. Indian Navy deployed INS Ranjit, that is, Indian Naval Ship Ranjit, in the conflict. Initially, they planned to block the Karachi port to seaworthy supply routes. Our Indian Navy proved its expertise by launching aggressive patrols where the Eastern Naval Fleet joined the Western Fleet and consequently blocking the Arabian Sea routes of Pakistan. This tactical move exploited Pakistan's dependence on sea trade. A proxy naval exercise in this region was referred to as Samarex. As the exercise moved closer to the Makran post, Pakistan shifted its focus to escorting its oil trade from Gulf, fearing attacks by Indian ships. As the days passed by, our Navy shifted focus to the Gulf of Oman with the proxy tactics to do electronic warfare exercises. This became a matter of concern for Pakistan as oil and petrol storage capacities for civil and military purpose were facing scarcity, especially when there was a high demand for these sources. The blockade was so tactical and powerful that then Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, had mentioned that his country was left with just 6 days of fuel to sustain itself if a full-fledged war had broken out. On 29th of June, Pakistani Army's food and weapon supply line was cut by their own Prime Minister, which made them move back. At this juncture, our Indian Army forwarded towards Tiger Hill and it was recaptured after an 11-hour battle on 4th of July. And now, on 5th of July, Indian Army takes control of Dras. On the very same day, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif announced Pakistan Army's withdrawal from Kargil. India recaptures Jabbar Heights in Batalik. Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee declares Operation Vijay a success on 14th of July. And our government had set condition for talks with Pakistan. On 26th of July, the Kargil war officially comes to an end with India recapturing all the high posts back and Indian Army announced the complete eviction of the Pakistani intruders. I salute my brave Kargil heroes for their action of extraordinary courage, bravery and tactical way of approach towards the battle. Soldiers of our country will always remain immortal in our minds. They sacrifice their life to ensure us a secured future. It is always duty first for the soldiers. We, as citizens of India, are definitely proud of our valiant soldiers. India was able to give a befitting reply to Pakistan, which it never thought of. Under Operation Vijay, our government had employed about 2 lakh Indian troops. In this war, more than 500 Indian soldiers were martyred, while more than 1,300 were injured. The Kargil War Memorial is built by Indian Army at Dras to commemorate our bold and daring soldiers who fought in 1999 Kargil War. It is about 5 kilometers from the Tiger Hill. During the war, the soldiers had also written letters if they did not return from their mission. Either I will come back after hoisting the tricolor or I will come back wrapped in it. But I will be back for sure. These were the lines of soldiers in which we can sense the feelings of patriotism, determination to win, and the great love towards a nation. The words said by Captain Vikram Batra, "Ye dil mange more," still reverberates in every Indian. On 27th of May, Flight Lieutenant K. Nachiketa, who was held as prisoner of war, was later handed over to the Red Cross, which brought him back to India. A number of Indian soldiers earned awards for gallantry. 4 Paramveer Chakras and 11 Mahavir Chakras and 14 Veer Chakras were awarded. Every year on 26th of July, after winning the Kargil War in 1999, it instills a confidence of victory in every Indian. I salute you, my brave heroes of a country, and am proud to be an Indian. कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की तो कौम पे लुटाए जा. जय हिंद.